This is LORA SALL, your host for Education in Our Community, and today we have our honored guest, Gaston Lau, as well as John Marshall from EMS COOR, and we are going to speak about their program and ways in which the community can get involved and what's available to the community. So welcome to our show. Welcome to our show. Okay, today, these two gentlemen are instructors over at the EMS COOR, and what they are doing is teaching people how to get involved in the overall system of being emergency medical services, right? Or and how to ultimately be an EMT as well as possibly other positions within that program. Now, the two of you are success stories as it relates to your program. So can you tell me, first of all, how you got involved? You say you're both graduates, so please tell me how you got involved in your class.
Sure. At the time, I was looking for answers. I had a lot of big questions, and they involved the kind of specific challenges that our community of color face, specifically related to the healthcare system. I saw a lot of sick people who would only see the doctor when they absolutely needed it, and so I wanted to do something about it. I wanted to become a healer within the community and engage in the community in a real, tangible way. And I found the EMS COOR and found out that they offered a free EMT training program in addition to life mentorship, in addition to physical fitness. And it seemed like such a well-rounded approach to just become a better person, not only an EMT, but just a better person in general.
Wow. And Mr. Marshall, how'd you get involved?
Well, one of my mentors by the name of Craig Adams, he introduced the idea of becoming a firefighter to me. And he was like, hey man, you got the build, you know, you love working with your hands. Why don't you pursue a firefighter? And I was like, yeah, that sounds good, right? And then I took a few classes, and I was like, maybe this is something I can do. So I understood that, hey, each and every firefighter is an EMT. So in order for me to become a firefighter, I have to be an EMT. Okay. So I began to look up different programs. And the diversity of this program and the mission of this program really sparked interest within me. Because I'm like, hey, this is a community that I'm from. This is a community-based program, and this is a program that gives back to the community that I love.
Wow.
Right? So I got involved, I applied, and I got denied the first time. And then I reapplied in 2014.
Okay.
And then I was accepted. So I always say everything happens for a reason, and I believe that. I wasn't ready at that time, right? So that's kind of how I got involved with. Right?
Amazing. And so tell me about the program now. Here, it's for men of color. Why just men? Tell me that first.
Well, the program is under a specific initiative, which is the My Brother's Keeper initiative, okay, right? And the Boys and Men of Color initiative. So we wanted to have a program that specifically catered to men of color in going into the different health fields. Okay. So we understood that there was an underrepresented population within the healthcare agency, within the healthcare field, which was men of color. So that's when they designed a program that was able to introduce them to emergency medicine.
Okay.
And entry-level position within emergency medicine is an EMT.
Okay. And can you tell me what's required in order to get involved in your program?
Sure. It's just a little bit of background information about the program. It's a 5-month-long training program that is full-time, that is free. And in addition to being free, we actually pay our students to come because it is full-time, and we understand the obligations to family and needing to support yourself and your family during that period. As far as the requirements go, you need to be between the ages of 18 to 26. You need to have your high school diploma or a GED, and there's a certain amount of vaccinations, like a current TB test that you need to do. And that's really it. We try to make the barrier to getting involved in the program as low as possible, and we want to encourage the men of color in the community who are often the most disenfranchised and often have the most barriers to get involved in a program like this. We try to get those people involved as much as possible.
Okay. Okay. And so once they hear about the program, fill out the application, where does it go? And where do they go to apply?
Well, once they fill out the application, it comes to us.
Okay. And where is
Right.
that?
So our program is located in San Leandro,
Okay.
right? So it is an online application. I mean, people can print it out and bring it in directly to us, but it is an online application, which then we go and we review. Once we review, that's when we begin to set up the interviews. So we'll set up an interview. Once we set up an interview, then we'll have a meeting with our staff and our alumni, and we'll figure out who's the best fit for these classes. So there are times where someone may not be ready. There are times where it may not be a good bond within the group or the chemistry, right? So we try to cater our students and figure out what would be best for them, right? So after they go through the interview, then they'll come in for an orientation. While in the program, that's when we'll do a background check, live scan for any type of record that they may have. That way we can begin to work with them on clearing up any barriers that they may have moving in and transitioning into employment.
Now, did I hear you say alumni?
Yes, so
And so you have employees and alumni involved in making the decision about who takes the classes?
so some of our alumni sit in with our interviews
Okay.
along with the instructional staff.
Wow.
So a lot of the students usually come back. So we're in our 10th cohort right now,
Okay.
and our students usually come back to try to help with the interview process when it comes down to choosing the new students.
Excellent. Now let's backtrack a little bit. How did you go from being students or graduates from the program to then becoming instructors?
Me personally,
Both of you.
so for me, I was really good at being open-minded. So I was really good at identifying where the needs are as far as self-development, male development, things like that. So I came back and initially focused more so solely on the life coaching and mentorship component of it.
Okay.
Right? And I wanted to make sure that I was able to help the guys get through any barriers as far as any family issues, anything like that, any emotional barriers that they may be facing. And that's initially why I came back to help out, and then it just spanned into this big position of, hey, now you're teaching these skills, or now you're running this class, or now you're teaching the high school over here. So it just grew
Okay.
into more.
And how'd you make the transition?
Yeah, for me, as soon as I graduated, I started working for an ambulance company right off the gate, and I found that, and it's taught in the program, the majority of the demographic that makes up the EMS field is predominantly white. And I took it upon myself to come back and give back to the program because in a very real way, I found myself training my future coworkers. And that's just such an important component of our program. It's this peer alumni mentorship, kind of peer counseling that we do and we offer. And for many of the students, including myself when I was in the program, it was our first real contact with something resembling a community, something resembling a family that wasn't blood related, that you could call upon and rely on. And that was an important aspect in my own self-development, and so I felt that I needed to give back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, let's say, well, first of all, where do students come from? And where would you like to see young people coming from?
So it's kind of difficult to say where they come from because they're all over the Bay Area.
Okay.
Right.
Where would you like to have more people who are interested in finding a profession or a career, a new career?
So
how would they call you?
one of the many places that we want to try to reach out to is the community-based organizations. Places like Berkeley Youth Alternatives, EOIDC, YEP, Youth Uprising, different places like that, just to get them as the students to understand that this is a training program that is possible. This is a career that is possible, and it is very rewarding.
Okay.
So I think that's where our demographic is targeted, because we understand that these are the students and this is the population that needs the help and support.
But now, I'm a mother, and let's say I have a son that is 21 years old, and he's still trying to figure out what he wants to do. Can I contact you and refer my son to you?
I mean, essentially you can. The only barrier we run into when it comes to doing that is his interests. So, as Gaston mentioned, there are a few requirements, and that's one of them. You got to have an interest in doing this profession.
Yes.
And I mean, it's all great to say, "Hey, I want to try this out," right?
Okay.
But halfway through, we kind of, if you realize that I don't want to do this, we want you to continue and finish.
Okay.
Right? We want you to have that willpower to say, "Hey, I know I don't want to do this, but I'm going to stick to my commitment and finish."
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
We aren't just training people to go into the medical field. We're training people to become better people. Right?
Excellent.
To respond to situations, not only in a job setting, but at home, right? For people who may have kids, right? So that's kind of where our mission is geared towards, just creating better people,
Okay.
right? Better brothers,
Now,
better
Mr.
sons.
Lau, how diverse are the classes? And I know you said it's for men of color. And are you finding that you maintain a variety of communities coming to the program?
Definitely. It is diverse in all sorts of ways. It's not only of different ethnicities and socioeconomic backgrounds, different educational backgrounds. Just to touch upon what John was talking about earlier, it really doesn't matter what kind of educational background you have. If you have no academic experience, or if you're a high school dropout, which I was a high school dropout. it really doesn't matter. As long as the passion's there and you're motivated and you want to be a part of something that will improve you as a person and potentially get you a career. If you have that passion and that drive, then we want to work with you. Mm-hmm. And I think the diversity is definitely there. We have graduates from UC Berkeley who are now on their way to medical school, and we have people like me who dropped out of high school, and there's all sorts of people in between, and mm-hmm. that's what makes it function. And when we get all these different types of people in the same room, and then by the end of the program, having a sense of connection and a sense of dignity within not just your specific community and your specific challenges, but to also uphold the greater community color.
Now tell us again, how did this program start? How long has it been around, and why haven't we heard about this?
Yeah. Well, it started in 2011, and it was out of Camp Sweeney. It's a juvenile detention center here in Alameda County, and it's a full kind of lockdown kind of facility. They're there 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and it actually came from the young people of color there in the juvenile detention center. They did a survey, and it was basically, what kind of job or what kind of field do you envision yourself going into? And most of them said either fire or police or EMS, because those three fields are what they had experience running into. And so but the Alameda County Public Health Department recognized that there was a need there and that people were interested in becoming EMTs. And that was a very realistic project that could be taken on. And so in 2011, we partnered with a community organization at the time called Bay EMT that was doing the same similar work that we are now doing, in that they were volunteer instructors that were going into Camp Sweeney to train these so-called inmates, and just to expose them to the skills that are needed to transition them into later seeking employment as an EMT. And so that is our history. That is still something we want to address. We really can't talk about this program without talking about race and mass incarceration. Mm-hmm. And I think those huge questions that I once had, and I think those are really the great questions of our time. I think the EMS Corps is part of the answer.
Wow. And Mr. Marshall, so a person with a criminal history can come and get involved. What are the requirements or limitations as it relates to having a criminal background and wanting to be an EMT? Or wanting to come to your program?
Yeah.
So there are a few limitations as far as a criminal record goes, felonies versus misdemeanors.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest things, because I mean we can talk for hours about what the stipulations are, but we have a group of individuals who help our students get over these hurdles, right? So I'm not sure if you're familiar, but the East Bay Community Law Center, which is out here in Berkeley, right, mm-hmm. works with us in helping our students clear their record up and get their certifications approved through Alameda County. So one thing, a couple things that just automatically disqualifies people is things like sex crimes, arson, manslaughter, different things like that. So there are certain crimes that will just kind of, we won't be able to serve.
Mm-hmm. But when in doubt, they should pursue it and let you figure it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So never tell yourself no. Let someone else tell you, hey, this may not be possible. And when you go through this specific training, there are other career paths that we are able to place people in.
Okay.
That's outside of just the EMS field, right?
Okay.
So there are places in Highland Hospital, there are places like our drug and alcohol center that we partner with. So there are other opportunities for our students to go and seek employment.
Okay. Well, that brings up another question. What's the difference between EMT and EMS? Because when people think about EMTs, they think about the people who are transporting folks to the hospital and showing up when an ambulance shows up. But what's EMS?
So EMS is the entire field. EMS, emergency medical services.
Okay.
So EMS incorporates everything in emergency medicine, right? EMT is just a position.
Okay.
Right? And that's kind of where that's at. So when we start talking about the fire department, right? Ambulance, so different things like that, those are all incorporated in EMS,
Okay.
which, yeah.
And so what people should do is, once again, just go ahead and contact you. Are there counselors or people, or are you available to speak to people who have questions about your program or the profession or the variety of professions within the whole title of EMS? How should someone move forward if they're really interested in coming to grips with what can I do next?
I think first and foremost, contacting us, trying to set up a date to come down and just speak with either us or our students.
Okay.
And they can give them a good idea of what the program is about, right? And some of the different career paths that they have,
Okay.
right? My career path is completely different than Gaston's, right? So there's a wide variety of places that people are able to transition into. So I think one of the biggest things is just contacting us and helping figure that out, right?
Okay. And the best way to contact you?
Email. Yeah, email me. I will respond as soon as I can within a day.
Okay.
Email.
And the emails are okay they're on the screen. Is there a phone number? Somebody that does not have a computer or email, can they call, or do you accept walk-ins?
We definitely accept walk-ins, and on our website, we do have all of our contact numbers on there. I don't know them off the top of my head.
Okay, but you know the website information?
Just our name.org,
Oh,
emscore.org.
okay. Okay, and so then your names are on the screen. And what's your goal in terms of the number of people that you want in the class? What would be an ideal class, number-wise?
Usually we try to shoot for 20 or so students within one cohort. We find that that's really the magic number where people can kind of click and a sense of community really develops. Right now we're working with a fewer number of students, so it's a little more intimate, but around 20 or so, that's really, I feel like, the perfect magic number.
Okay. And you mentioned if some people are able to graduate, some people may not be able to graduate. If they do not graduate, are they able to come back?
In what capacity? So come back and teach, or come back and... re-enter the program and go through it again. So I guess I'll kind of touch on both. So depending on the reason behind that person leaving would kind of dictate how we gauge re-entering that person into the program, right? So there are definitely things and assignments that we may give, right? So we currently, in our current cohort, we have one student that re-entered that took the program in the previous cohort, right? But we give them certain assignments to do, right? Do a presentation on diabetes or high blood pressure. And we'll give them an assignment and see how they present that assignment, see how much effort they put in, and see where their energy level and their passion lies, right? And we kind of ultimately grill them in a sense, right? Where, hey, like, what have you learned and what are you going to do differently this next time around?
Yeah, I think the main thing is, though, is that we are a program of second chances. That is built into, that is the nature of our program. Just due to the targeted demographic that we want. And if for some reason they don't make it the first time, we just absolutely want to give them a second chance, but with stipulations.
Okay. And so bottom line is, you want people to be successful. You need people to get the word out there that your program exists.
Yeah.
Pass the word on to other young people, ages, again,
18 to 26.
18 to 26.
But even that's flexible. Like if you're 28, just work with us.
Okay, and make sure to look up your name and websites on the screen and contact you. And as always, just as we're getting into the show, it's over. And so I want to thank you both for coming. This is Education in Our Community. I'm LORA SALL, your host. And keep in mind that EMS COOR is out there for young men of color. Thank you, and come again.